The little church was always cold in March. I remember how my feet ached from the draft snaking beneath pews, even inside my best shoes. The congregation never really smiled at me, not since I'd started talking about wanting to be a reporter. And that morning was no different. Aunt Min was at the pulpit. She had a way with words when she wanted, voice high and righteous, hands gripped around a thick stack of offering envelopes. I dared to turn in a scholarship application to a university in Seoul. Not the one for mathematics, as my mother had nudged, but for media studies. The news had got around. Grandma's friend had a daughter in the church office, and my dream was already a joke by sunrise. I sat alone near the side exit, the air heavy with the perfume of old hymnals and pickled cabbage, watching as they called me up. My mother pressed my hand, not unkindly, whispering, "Stay quiet. Let them finish." Aunt Min started in. Some among us believe life is about chasing illusions, going looking for truth in a city where everyone lies, becoming a reporter. We all know what those people do. Trouble is what. Her eyes landed on me, then flicked away, like she couldn't let disgust settle too long in one spot. Why throw away the gifts God gave you, Hannah? People turned, some with sympathy, others with polite smiles, like they wanted me to flip back into being a good daughter. A practical child. I wanted to scream. I just want to know what's real. But I sat straighter and said nothing, fiddling with the frayed strap of my purse. Someone else piped up, Mr. Park, who ran a grocery shop. He never remembered my name, always called me Ji Young. My son tried to become an actor, you know, cried when he failed. Now he drives for Kupang at night. It's not a real job, child. Your mother needs help with the store. Nods, murmurs. He meant no harm, and I knew it, but I felt my chest unclench just a bit. Anger is less painful than disappointment. When it broke up, people avoided my eyes or clapped my shoulder with forced encouragement. My mother pretended not to notice the mix of sweat and tears caught on my collar. I went home, turned on the little radio under my bed, and pressed my face to the cold window glass. The evening news came on, and I imagined, for just a minute, that it was my voice in that studio, sending the truth out into the world. The city was exactly as I'd pictured in old dramas and magazines, bright towers crowding the sky, alleys riddled with neon, 1,000 stories coiled behind every window. Seoul didn't care who I was, yet that was its gift. At first, I rented a cubicle in a basement goshuon, keeping my notebooks locked away under a pile of rice crackers. Classes felt electric. Professors spoke in measured, gentle tones, and nobody pointed me out like a cautionary tale. But I didn't escape ridicule. At orientation, a tall girl with shiny nails, Min Seo, overheard me pitching my first feature to a local paper. "You want to chase down chaebol corruption with your accent?" She laughed, loud and sharp. "Good luck, Jolla girl. Seoul eats people like you." I tilted my head, shrugged. I liked the way cold resolve felt in my chest. Finding work was brutal. I scraped change cleaning an internet cafe by dawn, pounding my feet numb cycling to tiny, failing newsrooms by afternoon. Editors barely read my drafts. "You want to go undercover in a hostess bar? Who do you think you are, Kim Ina?" they'd tease. A year passed, and my bank account shrank. Proposition after proposition came back rejected or lost beneath stories of celebrity scandal and government press releases. My hands shook sometimes from all the instant coffee. I watched classmates pick steady, polite careers, civil service, teaching English, state insurance. They eased into their 20s with soft hands. I burned my tongue on burnt ramen and chewed on fear. Once, in the depths of winter, I stumbled home after being turned away from yet another news desk. The city felt merciless, howling wind yanking my thin scarf. My phone lit up, my mother. I let it ring once, twice. In her voice was always something tender, a little steel. You can come home, Hanna. No one will say a word. My eyes stung, but I said, not yet, Oma. Just a little more time. I'll call when I win something. After hanging up, I cried, quietly, in the hallway where nobody could hear. I let the ache in my bones and the pulsing loneliness roll over me, hoping the feeling would shrink with the light of a new morning. I wrote anyway, clinging to a dozen stories in my notebook that no one else cared to see. That changed with the gas leak story. I'd noticed quiet chatter on a neighborhood blog, complaints from tenants about strange metallic smells, children with nosebleeds, elderly folks fainting. The government said the building was safe, blaming it on diet and stress. I put on my old high school uniform, just another invisible kid, and walked the halls. The stench stung my nose, worse deeper in the stairwell. A mother, desperate and tired, let me in to see her boy's swollen eyes. I recorded every word. I submitted that piece to 12 places. 11 ignored it. The smallest, the investigator, replied, "Can you prove it?" So I spent 3 days returning, talking to residents, photographing cracked pipes, recording city officials' evasive answers. A photographer friend helped me collect test samples, and I spent 2 evenings huddled in the city library researching hazardous gases. When the investigator finally published, the story leapt into news feeds overnight. At dawn, I watched my own byline scroll across the web. The city dispatched crisis teams. Those families, sick for so long, suddenly mattered to someone. 5 days later, the mayor's office quoted my article on live television. My phone buzzed without stop. "Who are you? How old are you? We'd like to meet for coffee." Other publications suddenly remembered my name. Some called with job offers. But it wasn't just about the words in print, or my name in bold. I met the mother again in spring. As repairs finally began, she pressed a shy orange into my palm, whispering, "Thank you, journalist Neem." No one had ever called me that before. I biked home that day and slept with the orange under my pillow, sweet and fragrant and small. After that, things gathered speed. Bigger papers let me freelance, then hired me full-time. I learned how to keep deadlines, sharpen questions, chase sources through crowded train stations and smoky pojangmachas. Pieces about school bullying, labor abuses in wealthy offices, a cheating scandal at a major entertainment agency. I wrote them all. Careful, but relentless. Not all went well. Some stories made enemies. Once my email was hacked. Another time, a man waited outside my building for hours, camera slung low, eyes glittering with warning. My mother called often, her voice unsteady. "Don't cross the wrong people, Hannah." But she never asked me to come home again. Still, in Seoul, I found a rhythm and a quiet joy. One December, my story on illegal eviction practices won a national prize. I didn't even know at first. An old professor called, merely shouting through her pride, "You're a real thorn in their side now, Hannah." For the first time, I let myself smile, broad, foolish, honest. 5 years since that morning in the church. 5 years since the side eyes and Ji Young and Aunt Min's clipped laughter. Returning was not my decision. It happened because of another story, a factory fire in our own Jola town. The company claimed 1 dead worker. Quick apology, case closed. In Seoul, I read a short wire, tragic accident, minimal casualties. But a friend sent a photo. I recognized the chipped pink tiles, the cheap blue awning, scrawls of my hometown in every frame. I asked my editor to let me cover it. "Who better?" she said. I packed my old duffel bag and took the sunrise bus home. Past rice paddies rolling with mist, train whistles bleeding into the gray morning. Nothing had changed and everything had. The air still tasted of salted air and old engine oil. Banners hung for spring elections. Kids in uniforms cycled past, giggling. I walked from the station to the edge of town and found the church doors open, voices rising in muffled hymn. Inside, I stood among the old wooden pews, faces flicked toward me, recognition sparking, then confusion, then careful neutrality. I caught Aunt Min's eye. She looked a little older, her hands knitting together in her lap. My mother was there too, alone in the third row, lips pressed in a small, nervous smile. When the service was over, people dispersed in clumps, but word travels fast in small towns. By midday, the church hall filled for the memorial. Trays of fruit and rice cakes set out. Aunt Min called for quiet. As the room hushed, I found myself beside the lectern. I wasn't sure who had put me there, my mother's hand lightly steadying me, but suddenly I faced them all, acutely aware of every scuff on my old shoes, every crease in my jacket. I could feel the pulse of history in their eyes, the girl who'd shamed the family, the one who left and never returned, who'd wanted to be one of those people in the news. Aunt Min cleared her throat. We thank Miss Han Na for coming, for always wanting the truth. Her voice was softer now, and a tremor of something else, regret, pride. Hid behind her formal phrasing, she stepped aside. I drew a breath, feeling the steel inside me, hidden but unyielding. My voice, when I spoke, was low but steady. I came because this story didn't reach Seoul the way it happened here. The company says one worker died, but there were 3. One was just a contract janitor, not on any official list. I turned, let my eyes meet theirs, the grief, the fatigue, the hope, clinging sharp as winter wind. Our story matters. People in Seoul want to know your names. I want to make sure they do. Mr. Park hovered awkwardly near the doorway. He looked